Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. And welcome to our 214th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is an AMA, just like on Reddit, meaning you can ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, any questions at all, so I can humbly try my best to help you take your career to the next level. Now, before we get started, I've had a lot of students ask me, why are the European stock markets massively outperforming the American stock markets? Well, the reason is there's a couple. Number one, there's been slightly warmer weather in Europe over the past month or two. And given Europe's dependence on natural gas from Russia, this has really helped the European economy. 40% of all natural gas that European countries consume comes from Russia. That's the first reason. The second reason is because China is starting to open up, and there are expectations, given Europe's reliance on exports to China, that this could help the European economy. And the third and final reason why the European stock markets are massively outperforming the American stock markets recently is because European companies, there aren't as many technology companies there relative to the United States. And the United States has seen a lot of tech companies not just cut into fat, meaning letting people go, but they've cut into muscle. They've kind of overdone it, letting a lot of people go, which has really hurt the U.S. stock markets quite a bit. Last thing I'll say about European exports to China, a lot of luxury good companies, of which many are based in Europe, do incredibly well by exporting directly to China. So that's helping them out as well. Okay. All right, let me move on now to your questions and comments, and thank you as always. Okay, I'll kick it off with Pearl. Pearl's in my MBA program. How are you? Good to see you. I hope you resolved that logon issue. And I reset your password for you, as you know. Okay, so Pearl wrote, hi, Chris. Trust you're keeping well and your family as well. Everything is great. Thank you. Thank you. I've got my three boys are here in the house, and then Andrew, who's older now. I should probably get an updated picture. He's going back to Berkeley next week. Yeah. So the question is, what setup did you use for the vlog on how to find your passion in the car? The sound of the video quality is very good. Enjoy it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I just used, there's a couple actually. There was one where I used an iPhone and my wife was driving, okay? And then the audio came from the iPhone. And then what I did was in Final Cut Pro, and Premiere Pro as well, we were able to change the audio to improve it quite a bit so you didn't hear the background noise. There's another video that I made that was similar to that one where I was driving. And what I did was I used a Canon M50, which is a small, relatively inexpensive mirrorless camera. And I had it suction cupped to the windshield as I was driving. And I also had an H1N device that was attached to me with one of these, this device here. And then when I'm outdoors, I use a dead cat as well, just to block the block the wind. Okay. And then Pearl wrote, I'm enjoying my MBA. By the way, 54% done. Awesome. I hope you enjoy it. And what I'm doing is, as many of you know, I'm adding a massive technology elective and semester to the program. I'm going all in on tech. I was a programmer back in the 1990s when I worked at Accenture. Sorry for all this mess here. But even with Microsoft, I was a beta tester as part of the Microsoft Developers Network, and they used to send me all these things here. So I beta tested all that stuff, and these are just props from the upcoming addition to the MBA program. Anybody that's already signed up for the MBA or will sign up this month gets it for free. And for those of you that have already signed up, and it's a one-time payment, you never pay again. I had tons of new stuff every year. It's going to be a massive elective added to the end of your curriculum. It'll hit by January 30th, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. And once you learn how to program using Microsoft Excel and learn object-oriented programming, meaning Visual Basic for applications, then learning other programming languages is quite easy. Okay, and it's fun. All right, next up I got Chetan, who's also my MBA program. Good to see you. He wrote, top of the morning to you, Prof. Likewise. Can you explain what is a stock transfer company and what is its function? I'm not too familiar with that, but I do know that traditional custodial services like Mellon, those are the companies that actually housed all the stock certificates. And since we don't really need physical certificates anymore for stocks or bonds, it's all handled by custodial services such as Mellon. So I think that might be what you're referring to. Next up, we have Manas from India. Good to see you, brother. who wrote, "Good morning, my dear mentor, Chris, please. Hope all is well, likewise. What a beautiful day as always. Let's talk something about everything so you're ready to go. I love it. Bring it on." Hassan, how are you? It's been a while, man. Great to see you. Good morning to you as well. Question is, first of all, let's begin with America. Why did so many flights get canceled yesterday? Was it a planned attack on them or a mishap? Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming it could be partially because of weather, partially. 75% of all Southwest flights were canceled 1 or 2 days before Christmas, given the weather. And we have crazy rain here, at least in the San Francisco Bay Area. And what happens is the reason it impacts the whole country when we have snow in the Northeast or a lot of rain here is because the flight crew is not always in the city where the flight is taking off from that day. They have to fly in the day of or the day before. There might also be a technology glitch as well, which I think I saw on CNN this morning. Okay. All right. Next up, Ed. Hey, Ed, how are you? Ed wrote, "Good morning, everyone. Good to see you." Ed wrote, "Sad to see Jeff Beck." Oh, I didn't know that. Has passed. What a guitar icon. Rest in peace. Yeah. Oh, that's tragic. I remember he played that song, "People Get Ready" with Rod Stewart. He did that great guitar solo. God bless him. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, Manos wrote, "Will this war in Ukraine ever end? Putin is getting more ferocious day by day, and Russia is going hard from all sides. Even Belarus is supposed to support him. Now what's next?" Yeah. So I told my kids when they asked me in February of last year, how long will this war end? I told them it's going to last decades. This is Cold War Part 2. Cold War Part 1 started in the late 1940s and ended when the Berlin Wall fell around 1990. So I think Putin is going to try to reassemble the USSR. Now, Putin, when he did his undergraduate degree, he did an undergraduate degree in geology, and his thesis was, how powerful could Russia be if they controlled the bulk of the world's commodities? So I think he's going to try to reassemble the USSR. God forbid that happens. Yeah. Okay. And if you guys get a chance, if you want to give away to charity, one of the best things you can do is go to Airbnb and book a night at somebody's place in Ukraine. And obviously you don't go, but at least they make the money that way. And I've donated thousands of dollars to Ukraine as well. In fact, my web developer for my website, his name is Vlad. He's a great guy. I got him through Upwork.com, and he recreated my website. I gave him a nice bonus as well. And just go to Upwork.com and make sure to hire people from Ukraine, please. Thank you. Okay. Jamie, how are you? It's been a while. I think the last time I saw you was in class back in October or something. I hope you're doing well. You wrote, good morning. It's raining here, I guess, in Utah. I think that's what you're referring to. Yeah, same here as well. Yeah. Fred, how are you? Great to see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Next up, we have Hassan, who wrote, "Chris, what is the best time for startups to raise cash?" So the rule is you want to raise as much money as you can when you can. And the reason I say that is because it's really distracting to raise capital every single year. And so what a lot of startups do is they raise money initially from high net worth investors once they have kind of a proof of concept, meaning a product that's kind of designed, but it doesn't really work yet, but a proof of concept. And then what happens is a year or two later, they raise money from venture capital firms, and then another year later or so, more money from VC firms. The problem with that approach is it's so distracting. It takes 3 months every year to raise a lot of capital. And at the last minute, a lot of people panic and don't give you the money. Whenever somebody tells you, I don't care if it's a high net worth investor or venture capital firm, that they're going to invest money in your company, I want you to cut that in half. Because at the last second, they tend to chicken out. Now, a lot of people that work in large companies doing, let's just say, skill X, they work at a big company doing skill X, and they make decent money, and they think to themselves, gosh, if I start my own company, I can make way, way more. And then they start their company, and it doesn't work out. And one of the reasons is because of the distraction of raising money, and also because they can't just focus on skill X. Because when they work at a large company, they have a lot of infrastructure in place, meaning HR, operations, back office systems, etc. And so before you start a company, I always recommend writing a full business plan. And in my MBA degree program, what I do is in the third semester, I have a venture capital boot camp. And it's based on my experience working in VC, starting many companies, sitting on many boards, lecturing at many universities, including Stanford University, where I was part of the curriculum for the Stanford Graduate School of Business MBA program in a venture capital class for a couple of years, mentoring students at Stanford, and also guest lecturing and being a judge on panels. And so failing to plan is plan to fail. And I humbly recommend that everybody please write a business plan before you start a company, which is included in my MBA degree program, because failing to plan is planning to fail. Okay. God, I sound like a used car salesman there. Yeah. Okay. If you can't laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at all. Okay. All right. And then you wrote, is it wise to raise cash when possible? Yeah, raise as much money as you can when you can, and just put it in a savings account. Also, what is an ideal runway for a startup? Yeah, so the amount of money that you want to raise, and usually you put it in a savings account, but you're going to spend it pretty quickly anyway. So it's kind of a moot point in terms of interest. But the way that you calculate how much money you're going to raise is you forecast an income statement for a number of years. In the first couple of years in your income statement forecast, which I teach in my MBA program, in the first couple of years in your income statement forecast, obviously expenses are going to be higher than revenue. And so let's say that you lose $1 million this year, $500K the year after, and then $500K the year after that. So that means that you need to raise, before you break even in the fourth year, you need to raise $2 million. And the use of proceeds is why your expenses are higher than sales. And you outline that in a lot of detail, of course, in your business plan. Okay. Next up, Ali wrote, Ali, how are you, man? It's good to see you. Good morning, Chris. Ali here from Zambia, and in your Silver MBA program. Thank you. And then you wrote, I quit my job because of some toxicity and abuse, but I'm glad I have more time to catch up on the MBA. Super glad, and I know I will find a new job. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And if I can humbly help you in any way, please let me know. And as you know, in the Silver MBA program, every single week at 10 a.m., I do a 1-hour Zoom just for my Silver students. There's a bunch of people on it. But what I can do, if you want me to, is I can go through your LinkedIn profile and just give you some tips. If you join my Platinum MBA degree program, which starts on January 30th, what I do is I personally write your entire LinkedIn profile myself, especially the summary section. Now, to learn more about my MBA degree program that starts on January 30th, what you can do is just go to my website, harounmba.com, and a pop-up comes here. You click here to learn more about the program, and then you can also click here to get a one-on-one Zoom call with me to talk about the Gold and Platinum program, okay? Or you click no thanks and close the website out entirely. But the next program starts on January 30th, and it's going to be every Monday and Tuesday for 1 year. And the class times on Monday and Tuesday starting January 30th is 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So it lasts 1 year. You get a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee that lasts up to 30 days after we start. So if you buy today, you get your money back all the way up until 30 days after January 30th, which is March 1st. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Okay. And I'm so sorry you're going through toxicity at work. I've been there as well. I've been bullied at work. I loathe corporate bullies. But what I have to say is this. As much as I hated being bullied, and there's no bullies, by the way, in my Gold and Platinum MBA program, there's a great corporate culture. But as much as I hated being bullied, in hindsight, and the Lord works in mysterious ways, I'm glad it happened because I embraced that frustration to quit and get a better job and eventually start my own company. So embrace that frustration if you're going through that at work. And little side note, we all work with people, or at least one person, that is so toxic that whatever you say to them when they ask you questions can and will be used against you in business. And so if somebody is very toxic at work and they say something to you and they ask you a question, and you know, regardless of how you're going to answer the question, or if they give you, they make a bold statement that they're going to use it against you, you say 2 words. You say this. You say, I understand. And you say that as you're not agreeing or disagreeing. You're just saying you understand. Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean. There's a lot of corporate bullies, especially when I worked at Accenture. There's this one guy that was just really mistreated me and really bothered me. And I remember it was 10 p.m. one night back in 2005, and I was at Accenture working on the merger of Manulife and Confederation Life, 2 big insurance companies based in Toronto. And one of the associate partners, I'll never name who he is, but he asked me to print out a database report. And I tried my best, and I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't want to mess up the database. So I told him, I said, sir, I'm so sorry, I can't. I've tried, I can't do it. And he looked at me and he goes, it's because you're incompetent. Then he turned around, he didn't smile, and he walked away. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and it made me so upset. I harnessed that frustration, though, to get a better job. Yeah. Okay. All right. And if you want to get a better job, the best way to do it is to network. Every time you see a job opening online, the probability of you getting that job if you apply is literally 1 in 250. It's ridiculous. So who gets that job? It's almost always the person that knows somebody at that company. So if this is the new digital reality, you have to know somebody at a company, then we'll know people at the company by networking aggressively. And I teach you how to network aggressively in my MBA degree program. In the first couple of weeks of the program, I teach you how to network on steroids and make the best LinkedIn profile. Yeah. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, is a recession before us or a fake bull run is occurring? The Fed is going to raise rates again in February 1st. When will the next big bull run start, like the one in 2021, if it ever happens again? Yeah. So the markets can stay irrational longer than we can stay solid. You can never time markets. But what I will say is that the Fed rate hikes are slowing down the economy. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the data that came out this morning, but it looks like inflation rose 6.5% year over year in the month of December. That's bad, but it's getting less bad. And Wall Street cares about the rate of change. And Wall Street tends to discount where the economy is going to be 6 months from now. And so I think inflation is going to be only a couple percent by the end of this year, 2023, which is really, really good for the markets. In terms of time in the markets, I have no idea. Nobody does. And so what I do is when I don't have time to do research on individual stocks, what I buy a lot of, and I've been buying a lot of this lately, humbly, is this ticker. I'll show you. All right. So let's all go together to Yahoo Finance. Okay, finance.yahoo.com. Please work. All right, here we go. Good. So if you're not sure what to buy, I recommend buying this, VOO. Okay, and I promise you, I put my reputation on the line, you will make money off of this longer term. Okay, so this here is the S&P 500 index fund. And the reason I mentioned this one here, made by Vanguard, which is the best ETF company, is because the fees are quite low at only 0.01%. And what that means is for every $100 you put in, you're only going to pay a penny every year in fees. And ETFs outperform mutual funds. Mutual funds are a scam. Don't touch them. There's so many hidden fees. Search my YouTube channel for why. I did plenty of videos on that. But when you buy the VOO, what you're doing is you're investing in the 500 stocks that make up the U.S. economy. So it's hard right now because 24%, as you can see, of the U.S. economy is technology. It's the largest subsector of the U.S. economy of the 12 sectors here. Okay. So it is underperforming, lately underperforming Europe, as I mentioned at the beginning of this call, but I think it's a great investment. I think it's a great investment because historically over many, many decades, the S&P 500 is up 10.5% per year on average. Obviously it was down last year. It was the worst year for the market since 2008, the financial crisis, but in the long run, you will make money. So if all you did was you invested $20,000, which is a lot, every year in your retirement savings program, in the VOO, at a 10.5% average return, then in 20 years, you'll have way over $1 million. If your spouse does that as well, you'll have over $2 million in 20 years. If you invest in your kid's educational savings account, which is called a 529 in the US, and you invest 15 grand for each kid each year, it's hard to do every year, of course, then in 20 years, you'll have $3 or $4 million. It's amazing. And recently, the United States government, the IRS, the tax department here, Internal Revenue Service, they increased the amount that you can put in your 401k every year by 10% to about $22,500. And they did that because inflation was up 10% as well. So please, 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 I'm going to get down my knees, man. Here I go. I want you to listen to Warren Buffett, and I want you to spend what is left after saving instead of saving what is left after spending. And if you can, every 2 weeks before you get your paycheck, I want money to come out automatically and put into your retirement savings program. Now, if you're in a country other than the US, just do a search for what is the 401k equivalent in my country. In Canada, it's called RRSP. In Australia, it's called superannuation. Yeah. I always forget what it's called there. All right. Okay, next up, Manas wrote, I have a green screen, a huge one. I find it difficult to set up. Any tips from the master of the industry? Well, it's please when one teaches to learn. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I set it up here. So the reason I have blue behind me and not green is because, well, first of all, it's hard to see now, but I have greenish eyes. I thank my Irish grandmother. I love you, Grandma. I miss you. And so because my eyes are greenish, when I do green screen, you can see into my soul. Like I have no eyes. And a lot of actors and actresses, what they do, they have green eyes, is they wear contacts in movies. So I choose blue behind me. And so let me show you how I set it up here. All software products are similar to what I'm going to show you. If you're using Final Cut or Adobe Premiere, it's called LumaKey or Keyer. But what you want to do is you want the lighting to be relatively even behind you. So let me set this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up for this right here. Okay, so this here is green screen. Okay, use chroma key. And then I have to pick a color. And so you see here, you can pick a color. I pick blue. Now this is not perfect, but what I can do is try to get as perfect as possible. And what I'll do is I'll put another layer behind me right now, right here. Most software products have layers. Let me just do this 1 second here. I'm gonna drag this down. Here we go. Okay, so I'll throw up an image here, and this is from one of my students named David, who graduated from my Platinum program last year, and he's based in Indonesia. He took this picture. This is close to where he lives. It's beautiful, eh? So what's important is that the lighting is even all around you. It has to be even. Otherwise, what happens is when you go like this with your hands, you see streaks, big streaks. Now, it's not perfect, the color coding here directly on my shirt, but you can play around with all the levers, I mean the white levels, levers, black levers, etc. in most software products in order to get it to perfect. Okay, it's pretty cool though, it's fun, eh? All right, let me turn off a green screen here and get back to Chris with the blue backgrounds. Okay, and what I did was I took the letters off the back here. So remember the letters were on the back of my studio. Right now, I put them way down there. And the reason I did that was because I recorded this Excel edition of my MBA program, and some of the recording I used green screen or blue screen in the background, and it's tough to key that stuff out, all the letters, yeah. Plus people keep saying, what is it, Haroun? Haroun Education Ventures? My last name rhymes with baboon. No, you never forget it, yeah. All right, next up, Fred wrote, Chris, I'm planning to teach English online. What are the requirements? Yeah, there's no requirements to teach anything online at all. Yeah, there really are no barriers to entry. So what I would do is this, and this is part of what I refer to as educational Darwinism. Go to Udemy, which is the best ed tech company in the world. Udemy is Google and everyone else is Bing. And what I want you to do is just search for English courses. And then I want you to look at the reviews, and I want you to sort and just look at the 1-star reviews. Right? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. My courses have tons of 1-star reviews. And I want you to read the negative reviews. And I want you to make a better version of that course. And whatever course it is you want to teach. And the ultimate beneficiary is the student. Yeah. Okay. And I have a bunch of courses on how to teach online as well. I think you can find them on Udemy based on the millions of mistakes I've made over the years. Okay. All right, next up, Manas wrote, what's the most a hedge fund can make as a return and how BlackRock became a giant in hedge funds? Yeah, BlackRock, they have over $4 trillion in assets, right? So it's a diversified financial services company. And they have a lot of ETFs as well. So it's not just a hedge fund. They've got a lot of departments. So in terms of the most a hedge fund can make, I mean, I've heard of hedge funds making a couple 100% per year. Especially back in 2008, those that were short a lot of the mortgage-backed securities. In terms of the best hedge fund on the planet, so there's a guy named Jim Simmons, and he used to work at the National Security Agency, and then he quit back in the early 80s, and he started his own company called Renaissance Technologies. And he's got an office out here because his kid goes to Berkeley. He graduated years ago. And what Jim Simmons did was he created thousands of Linux servers running in parallel. And it's artificial intelligence-based algorithms picking stocks. And his gross return since the 1980s is 60% on average. It's unbelievable. And so what he does, and AI obviously is a massive topic right now, and I'll talk about ChatGPT in a second. But what he does with his servers, which are heavily guarded, is the way that they pick stocks. Nobody will know, but there's a lot of parameters or data feeds that are fed in, and then his computers pick stocks. So, for example, here in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's raining a lot, and because it's raining a lot, and let's just pretend it's raining a lot across the entire U.S., and there's a lot of snow, obviously, in the Northeast. What people do is they go out to eat at restaurants less often. So his algorithm might short restaurant stocks based on one of the many inputs into that. In terms of open GPT or ChatGPT, I get a lot of questions about this. It's a groundbreaking technology. When I first started using it in November of last year when it was released, I was obsessed with it. And so it was started by a not-for-profit, which was backed by Microsoft. Microsoft put $1 billion into it, and Elon Musk also invested, and Elon was on the board up until a couple of years ago. And so what ChatGPT is the biggest threat that Google has ever seen. Finally, there's competition for Google. You know, Google is a monopoly. They own the two biggest search engines in the world, Google and YouTube. And so I think that Google is going to lose a lot of share to ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT doesn't have much in terms of revenues yet, but it looks like they're about to go public at a $29 billion valuation. And Microsoft is going to take share from Google, meaning Microsoft Bing. And I know I made fun of Bing in the past, but I think this is a big deal because Microsoft, according to people familiar with the matter, which means media reports, by this March, in 2 months, Microsoft is going to embed ChatGPT directly within Bing. So again, this is a huge, huge deal. And for those that haven't tried ChatGPT, please try it out. There's no app for it, really. You have to go to the website. Just search for ChatGPT and try it out. It is a game changer. It's unbelievable. Okay. All right. Next up, Pearl wrote here, and give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. And please keep typing your questions here. And what I will do is I'm going to open up Zoom very soon for you guys, and maybe I'll give you guys a couple courses for free. Yeah, I will. Give me a second. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Stick with me here. All right. Okay. 1 second, guys. Okay, great. All right, next up, Pearl wrote, I'm really excited about the programming. I programmed in DBase 4. Excellent, excellent. And dude, I have used so many technology products over the year. I program in my spare time. I am a nerd. I 3D printed this for the course, for the addition to the MBA program, which is going to be exclusively available in my MBA program, nowhere else. But I've been programming forever, since the 90s. This is a book I had on Visual Basic. I bought it in 1994. I don't throw anything out. I had Excel on my Mac here back in the 80s. I've been using Excel for over 30 years. Excel has sold over 1 billion copies, and it is the most used spreadsheet program on the planet. And even in terms of DB4, whenever you mention that, I always think of DBase 4, I think of DB2, IBM's database product. I even programmed years ago in Microsoft Access and then SQL Server. And once you understand one database, and this is quite similar to Excel, you basically work with fields, kind of like working with pivot tables. But once you understand one database structure, meaning SQL, structured query logic, then it's easy to understand others as well. Okay, let me go back here, get rid of my redonkulous props here. And these props, this is my youngest one, Dylan, will get these. But I teach you how to code using subroutines, and I make it all graphical. And this is just for bugs when we do debugging, which is what French people say. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, debug. Sorry. Okay. That wasn't a knock against French people. Okay. Okay, next up, Sandeep wrote, good morning, Chris. I'm back from vacation and ready to continue learning. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And my vacation, I was in Mexico. Many of you saw the vlog I sent from Mexico. I was down in Nueva Vallarta. And unfortunately, we're short-staffed in my company, so I actually had to do a lot of coding and editing and all that stuff on my laptop from the beach. And my wife and our friends we went with, they were reading books anyway on the beach, and I was coding. And I loved it. And I realized that you found your passion when you're on the beach on vacation, and you're not reading a book, but what you're doing is you're doing work, right? And as Confucius said, find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And what's coming next for me, after all this programming stuff hits my MBA program on January 30th, and we start our next program January 30th, is I just signed a contract with Magu to write a book. I'm going to deliver it to them by March 1st. And it's going to be a book on finance essentials, meaning finance for non-finance people. It's going to be small like this. It'll be in bookstores, airports around the world, etc. Really excited about it. Look for that. So I deliver the final product to them March 1st, and then they're going to publish it November 1st of this year. And I'll mention it more in more detail in November. Okay. All right. Not bad for a guy that got a D in accounting. I got a D in accounting at McGill. First time I took it because I was memorizing, not understanding it. That's why I love to use a lot of props when I teach. Yeah. Okay. All right. Peter Paul wrote, good morning. Good morning to you too. Good to see you. And then Jamie wrote, it was a computer malfunction. Okay. That's what I'd heard through CNN with respect to the airlines being canceled. Yeah. And then Asan wrote, number one, we are 4 co-founders of a startup. 3 of us are in Pakistan and 1 in Canada. Does it make sense to give high equity to our partner in Canada? Yeah. First of all, talk to a lawyer to make sure you're not giving up control of your company. Make sure it's common shares and potentially not preferred. See if they agree to that, though. Also, you can always create shares. It doesn't cost you anything. It dilutes you a little bit, but at least you don't have to pay cash out of your pocket for it. So I'm all for that. But you want to make sure you talk to a lawyer about the right structure for what's called the cap table or capitalization table. Always get lawyers involved whenever you're transferring ownership in a company. Yeah, but give a minority stake to them because you don't want to get too diluted yourself as you raise capital in the future. Okay. Good morning, Andre. Okay, next up, Manas wrote, Binance, and Binance is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. They almost bought FTX's international assets, but after looking under the covers of all the hidden losses, they decided not to. So he wrote, Manas wrote, Binance is the king of the crypto world, and their stablecoin is not fully backed by dollars. Is this a recipe for destruction? If that happens, will it be crypto ice age for long? It certainly feels like the ice age right now in terms of cryptos. And I think now is the time you start rolling up your sleeves and doing research on buying your favorite cryptos. I provide you with all the frameworks and tools in your toolbox, etc. In my MBA degree program in terms of how to do that. Yes, I do have a tool right here. My floor is an absolute mess. That's okay. Okay. All right. And I've said this before publicly to a lot of people, and I say it with love in my heart. I never want you guys to have more than 5% of your liquid net worth in cryptocurrencies. And I don't want any crypto to be more than 0.5% of your liquid net worth. Most cryptocurrencies are a scam. Most are. There's a handful that are great long-term investments. And if you are going to own cryptocurrencies, please do not store them in a hot storage wallet, meaning online. You got to store them in a cold storage wallet, meaning a USB token, that you can keep with you. Yeah, always, always, always. And they're not FDIC insured. They're not insured by governments either, unlike the major banks here in the United States. But regulation is coming, and that's a good thing. Okay. Next up, I've got, so Rob wrote, why are the Indian markets decoupled from the U.S. markets? Yeah, I haven't really kept up on how the Indian markets are doing at this point. I would assume that they're probably outperforming a little bit, commensurate with Europe lately. And the reason I would say that is in line with how I opened today's call, which is, European markets are doing a bit better because people are a little bit less worried about natural gas at this point because it's been warmer in Europe. India is completely different though. But more importantly, the Chinese market's reopening, right? And given India's proximity to China, it's a big deal from an export perspective. Okay. But India is the largest democracy in the world. I love India. And there is some correlation between the US markets and Indian markets. I know that because I've invested a lot of money over the years in India. I visited India before as well. I invested in Infosys, Wipro, Crompton and Greaves, which is an engineering construction company, and many others, all the Tatas, etc. And there is correlation. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Nitin wrote, can you talk about ChatGPT? Is it going to replace Google? And it's so funny, I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. Yeah. I don't think it will replace Google, but I think it's going to give Google a run for their money. The problem with search is that Audible Technologies don't leverage search to the extent they should be at this point. I mean, I use ALEXA and SIRI, and they're good. ALEXA is much better. But nobody has come up with an audible search product that works. And I think that ChatGPT is going to be the most incredible audible-based search utility that has ever existed. And I'm really excited about it, and I'm glad that Google's got competition, because competition is good for the consumer. And Google hasn't really innovated. Like, what do they have? You know, they bought YouTube. Yeah, their execution was brilliant with it. They created their own search product and ad revenue, but Google really doesn't have any innovation anymore. Like, I haven't seen any groundbreaking products come out of Google Labs since Gmail 8 million years ago. Yeah. So Google is becoming very bureaucratic. And as you know, I have no corporate sponsors. I never will. I'm true and pure to my students. I work for you, so I could give my opinion on any big company. Oh, by the way, this episode is sponsored by... No, it's not. Okay. All right. Next up, Asan wrote, with respect to your startup, where you have a couple of employees in Pakistan and one in Canada you might give equity to. It could help us raise money, and investors would have more confidence knowing that a high equity stake...
From databox.com. When your investors have faith in you and the performance of their portfolio.
Alexa, I love you, but I didn't ask you to speak. Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback.
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, if this wasn't a live webcast, I wouldn't be that polite. You guys know that. Yeah. Okay, in terms of your investors gaining confidence in you that a high equity stake is in Canada, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. I mean, you could do a dual listing as well. You could headquarter in Canada, and that might give, I don't know, give some Canadian investors confidence that they understand better what they're investing in. But I don't know if that would really move the needle. I would ask your lawyer about that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, question is, my Thinkorswim isn't working. As it says, view only account. What should I do going to practice options, your course, paper trading for 100 days only? Yeah. So Thinkorswim is a great software product made by Toronto Dominion, TD, that allows you to have a paper portfolio that trades stocks and options. And before you guys transact in options, meaning buying puts or calls, I want you to practice for at least 6 months. And it's a big part of my MBA program as well, in an elective towards the end, advanced investment management. If you can't get Thinkorswim to work in India, and it certainly doesn't work in all countries, you can get a VPN. Okay, you get a virtual private network and pretend that you're in the United States, and then you can transact that way. My go-to VPN that I use all the time, I absolutely love it, and Marquise Brownlee told me about this, he's my favorite vlogger, is ExpressVPN. And what you can do with ExpressVPN, it's like $10 a month or something, and you can run on all devices, laptops, desktops, these things, iPads, etc. But what I can do is I can log in from any country in the world right now. And I do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I do it when I'm overseas and I want to watch American TV and movies and stuff. Like I was in Mexico and I wanted to watch a couple of shows. And I also do it to test how my courses are being marketed by the many companies that sell my courses around the world. Yeah, so check it out, ExpressVPN. Okay, Pulasti, who won my silver MBA last week. Pulasti wrote, hi Chris, how are you? I'm great, thanks. And I'm going to give away a couple courses in a minute. You wrote, thank you very much for enrolling me in the silver MBA program. You're most welcome. And Pulasti last week won this contest I had. I'll show you. The contest was, hold on a second, ignore that. Where is this located? And the answer is, it's in Israel. It's the Sea of Galilee. It's actually a lake, but they call it the Sea of Galilee. But good to see you, and you're most welcome. Okay. And then you wrote, my dream is to be an entrepreneur. I think your silver MBA program is very helpful. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually open up Zoom right now and give you guys a free course. 3 free courses. Okay, give me 1 second, and I'm going to show you how to access Zoom. We go here to Zoom right here. Here we go. Okay. All right. So if you guys want to join Zoom, and let me open up Zoom right now, and I'll give you guys the free course as well. Let me go here, open a new tab, go to Zoom. You guys can ask me questions over Zoom if you want. Let me switch over the microphone under my table. Okay. Let me open Zoom here. Here we go. So if you guys want to join Zoom, what you can do is go to this website. And on this website, I'm giving you three of my courses, or 2 courses and a book for free. So here's what you do. You go to this exact website right here. Hold on a second. Here we go. The website is as follows. Go to harounmba.com. And as you can see here, all lowercase, Zoom day 1. Okay? Z, that's what we say in Canada, it's not Z. ZOOM day 1. And when you're on this page, you can click right here to join the Zoom call with me. And if I see a bunch of people on, I'll open it up and answer questions that way. And I'm giving away 3 free gifts right now. The first one is called the Complete Personal Finance Course. You click here, you get it for free. The second one here is an audiobook of my best-selling book called 101 Crucial Lessons. And the third gift, or 3th, as my son Andrew used to say, is a course of mine called Introduction to Finance, Accounting, Modeling, Valuation. And when you're on this page, please scroll down and read about my MBA degree program. It starts on January 30th. This is the 6th one-year program we have. There's a gold version, a platinum version, or you can start silver right now if you want to. And so the difference between gold and platinum, I teach live every Monday and Tuesday from 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific time, starting January 30th for a year. And so after each topic, I answer questions and do endless Zoom. It's a couple hundred hours of live Q&A, plus the 300 plus hours of core curriculum, not including the 100 plus hours of electives. And then platinum, you also get 3 hours of one-on-one time with me, confidential coaching for me, coach you on anything. So on this website here, again, if you want to join Zoom right now, go to Zoom Day 1, okay? harounmba.com/Zoom Day 1, all lowercase. And then you get the free courses here and read about the MBA here if you want to. If you want to set up a Zoom call with me to talk about joining the Gold and Platinum, starting January 30th, you can click here. And then we have FAQs here about the MBA program, written testimonials, and then video testimonials as well. Okay. Let me go back over here to answer more questions. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, the crypto metaverse NFT space has literally a few players. Will they survive? And will new guys be able to get in the space and dominate? Yeah. So I would say whenever I look at new themes to invest in, I always ask myself one question. Will this sector or new technology be more relevant or less relevant in 5 years? And so in 5 years, will VR-based learning and VR-based social media platforms be more relevant? Yes. And so will AR-based products, of course. Will NFTs, meaning digital certificates or digital art or digital baseball cards or Pokemon cards, whatever, be more relevant in 5 years than today? Yes. So now is the time to start rolling up your sleeves and dabbling a little bit in NFTs, right? I've never said that before, but now's the time because you got to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And you have to be a contrarian. Otherwise, you'll never make any money. If you buy the same stocks that everybody loves, there's not that many incremental investors to push the stocks higher, so to speak. So be a contrarian and watch your net worth take off. And the best entrepreneurs are very unemotional and they're contrarians as well, like Elon Musk. So Elon Musk bought a ton of shares in Tesla in March of 2020 when the market bottomed. And then he sold a bunch of them in the fall of 2021, 6 weeks before the market peak in January 2022. You have to be unemotional and a contrarian if you want to do well. All right, I'm trying to get my teeth whiter, which is why I'm using a straw. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Eric wrote, good morning, Chris. Good morning. Is there software you can recommend to scale an online business? Yeah. The best way to do it is just use Amazon Web Services or Google Compute Engine or use Microsoft Azure. Yeah, because it's a race to zero. And Amazon has cut the pricing point on Amazon Web Services over 100 times since they launched it in 2005. It's very deflationary. Yeah. So I would put your entire backend, if you can, on AWS. And the biggest companies in the world like Netflix, Dropbox until recently, all use AWS. The same thing with Uber, all these great tech companies. It's cheap and the price keeps falling. Okay. All right. And then Eric wrote, "Why are you not in the crypto called Neo?" Yeah, I dabbled with that a couple of years ago. It's a Chinese-based crypto. I really couldn't get my hands around the whole process of downloading the wallet and then mining a virtual concept, which I couldn't really track. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Peter wrote, "Who produces your promotional videos?" Yeah. So there's a guy named Adad Warda, Warda. He's great. And so he's done most of my videos when I went over to Prague, the Czech Republic. I went there a couple times. He's amazing. And the one I made one here in the Bay Area in front of the Golden Gate Bridge for my presentation course. And I had the same crew actually that worked with Morgan Freeman on a couple of his movies do it as well. They're great. They're expensive, but it's a great return on investment. Yeah. And you got to think long term. Like with all my courses and programs, whenever I make promotional trailers, I think about how much revenue the course can make in 10 years. And then what I do is I spend 10% of that revenue on the promotional trailer. It's a lot of money, but it works. And the difference between making courses online and Hollywood movies is Hollywood movies, they see a big spike initially, right? And then a massive decrease in revenue. And the average studio in Hollywood spends $1 million on their promotional trailers. The difference with education and online courses is when you release a course, you see a bit of an uptick and then a slow growth over time. And so what I do, I look like ET. What I do is I do a discounted cash flow analysis on how much I think my courses will make each one over a 20-year period, a net present value analysis. And that's how I calculate how much to spend on my promotional trailers, which is a lot, but it's an investment that's paid off humbly. And then you wrote, "How much of the script and pacing and choreography is you and how much is your team?" Yeah. So for the promotional trailers, what I do is I tell Adad and also Matt, who I work with, who's great. I tell them a little bit about the course and what I want to be in the script, and then they create everything from scratch. And then we go back and forth with storyboards 10 or 15 times until we nail it. But my promotional trailers that I recorded in Prague, most of them, like I spent a fortune on it, and I flew over and I was sick, right? And this is way before COVID. I was sick and I lost my voice. So we had the same makeup artist from Desperate Housewives, Marcia Gray's makeup artist there, and she made sure I didn't look sick. And then we had to dub myself talking, right? It does, if you look closely, it doesn't. It's a little bit artificial. We had to dub myself talking over later because I had lost my voice. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote, "What are you able to tell us about the process of those videos and the time it took?" Yeah. So we recorded most of them in about 2 days. I went there once to make 8 trailers, and we did that in 2 days. And when you make a Hollywood movie, you record things not in the order of the movie. So it was really tough for me, right? Just to not only remember my lines, but it just didn't make sense, but it all made sense in the end once Adad perfected those masterpieces. And what you can do is go to my YouTube channel, and if you scroll down, you'll see all the trailers there. And it took him a couple months to edit them as well. He does a great job. Yeah. So Adad Warda. All right. And then Peter wrote, "For your Udemy courses, it appears like it was taken in an empty office in San Francisco. Is this correct? How did you make that happen?" Actually, no, we did it. We did it at San Francisco State University. And we brought my son as well, Dylan, who was really small at the time. He was about this age in that video. A little bit older than that. So that the office stuff was done at San Francisco State. In terms of the Golden Gate Bridge, in that video, I'm going to show you something pretty funny, because in that video, there were naked people in the background, and it was brutal. So we had to actually get a permit to film at the Golden Gate Bridge, and way in the background, on that day, it was Naked Day at the Golden Gate Bridge, which is like once a week, which is crazy, typical here in the Bay Area. But let me show you. So what I had to do was I had to make sure, and you can't see any nakedness if the YouTube police want to stop this video, and but I'll show you. Okay, I told you I have no sponsors. All right, let me go here to my YouTube channel, and I'll show you right here. All right. So I had to actually make sure that I wasn't blocking. Where is it here? Complete personal. I have so many of them, eh? Let's see here. Complete presentation. I had to walk a certain way to make sure that I wasn't that I was blocking the people in the background, right? So, and what I'll do is I'll run through this with you and show this to you. And I'm going to try to make myself a green screen here. I'll show you the backgrounds. Okay, go to layers here, select this layer, go here, select use chroma key. That might work. Okay, good. Let's try this out. And I'll walk through it with you, what happens. Okay. All right, so let me hit play. One speech can change your life. You will learn to love public speaking. One speech. Oh, hey there. One speech can change your life. So this here was recorded at San Francisco State University. And what I'm doing is the camera level is low. And it was brilliant the way that Adad Warda set it up. The camera level is low. And it was actually supposed to be, and you don't find this out till the end, it was my son that walked in and he's talking to me, right? So it was Dylan, my youngest one. And so I say, one speech will change your life. You can... Oh, hey, I'll be with you in a second, okay? You will learn to love public speaking. Oh, hey, actually, I'm practicing for my speech. Can I rehearse it with you and you can maybe let me know what you think? Okay, thanks. One speech can change your life and touch the hearts of so many people around you, whether you realize it or not. And this assumes you have no public speaking experience at all. No problem. I used to be terrified of public speaking, much more than you. So this here was a theater that we rented in the Castro, and this was early in the morning, which is why we were able to rent it. And Adad had one of his lighting experts up on the stage, up there in the second level, that was throwing the light at us there. I'd rather have been here than up there. For example, when I was in business school at Columbia University, this was during the training program at Goldman Sachs, I asked more questions than my peers did because I was terrified of being put on the spot. But now I feel alive while giving... Okay, right here, you'll see, towards the end, you'll see blurred out in the background. You can't see anything, YouTube police. But I was crying laughing because Adad was directing me, and he just cracks me up. He's funny. And he kept going, move this way and move this way. So I was covering up people in the background. Naked beach at the San Francisco Bridge here. And you got to get a permit to do this, which we did. Cheers. There we go, right there. Okay. See there? How crazy is that? So funny. People might forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. This course is not based on theory. It's based on real practical experience. I've given a TEDx talk, numerous keynote presentations, and graduation speeches in front of hundreds of people. I've given numerous business presentations, and I've been interviewed by many media publications. You will learn to love public speaking on the spot with no preparation. So that one incredible speech can be the bridge between where you are now. So one speech can be the bridge between where you are now, where you want to be. Of course, the bridge, the metaphor there is the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge in the background. Where you want to be. It's almost impossible to achieve all of your goals in life without learning how to master public speaking. So in this park here, typical San Francisco Bay Area park, there was weed everywhere before it was legal, which I don't do. Anyone that's had a significant influence on the world, from Dr. Martin Luther King to Malala, Bill Gates, or Steve Jobs, all had one thing in common. They've all had the ability to communicate with large groups of people. In this course, I will include 25 different templates for... And I had a sunburn there as well. I forgot to put on sunblock. Type of speech occasion, from a personal speech at a wedding to a business presentation using Skype. This course will teach you everything there is to know about public speaking. One speech can change your life and the lives of so many people around you. Life all comes down to a few short moments. So how was that?
Guess it was okay, Dad. Can we go home now?
Sure thing, bud. All right, let's go. So I've got to take them home, but I'll see you in class. Thanks. So how was everything? Is that a good day? And the call to action is right here. And yeah. All right, that was fun. And Dylan was such a trooper. He was amazing. He did everything in one take, unlike me. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, next up, Peter wrote, are you able to share how much you spent budgeting and producing that video? I'm not, sorry. I have people reach out to me and ask. I don't want to share that sort of thing, sorry. But if you want, you can hire Adad Warda. I'll spell his last name. Somebody's asking about it in the chat here. Eric is. It's Warda. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. Okay. Next up, Manos wrote, can you please do a favor and open the coin market cap? And can you just give your opinion on metaverse tokens like Sand and Mana, please? Do share your thoughts on these two projects. Thanks. So I love you, brother. I love you. But I got to say, I pride myself on teaching my students how to fish instead of providing you with a fish. I'll never tell my students what to buy. And I suck at fishing, except when I play Red Dead Redemption Part 2, which is the best video game ever. Yeah. But I provide you with all the tools and templates in my MBA degree program to analyze any type of investment. Yeah. Or almost any time. Any type, yeah. Okay. I love all your questions. All right, next up we got Shiv or Shivansh wrote, in college I'm learning IFRS standards, which is an international accounting standard, similar to GAAP, but a little bit more global in nature. You wrote, it feels boring. Are those standards required in real life? Do we need to know those IFRS and US GAAP? GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. Do we need to know that stuff for finance rules? You do. You do. The reason is that accounting is a language, like Mandarin or French or English, whatever. And you have to learn the basics. But if you memorize them, the basics, you'll never understand finance. You have to understand them. And so in my MBA program, I provide you, there's tons of props I use to explain how balance sheets and all that stuff works. And the difference between accounting and finance is accounting is more of a science. It's backwards looking, right? So it's, what's occurred historically, and it has to be precise. Finance is more of an art. You're forward looking and you have to be creative. And I don't mean that in a creative accounting perspective, meaning being unethical, but you have to think about growth prospects and you have to be really comfortable with uncertainty. It's like having a crystal ball. So again, accounting, science, finance, art, right? But you can't understand how to project the future, meaning finance, without understanding how to read and interpret the past, meaning accounting. Yeah. Okay. But you know what you can do, Shivansh, if you want. I have a course here. I'll give it away for free. So if you go to that website I mentioned before, there's a finance class which is actually accredited now. If you take the Udemy version, you won't get an accreditation certificate here. It's the same course on my website, but you can click here if you want to take this course here. Yeah, and so click through here. And then the promotional trail, I'm just going to show you the first 10 seconds because I scared the crap out of myself right here.
My life has turned full circle.
Hold on. I'll show this to you here. Hold on. Watch this scene here. This is hysterical. Let me go to settings. All right, it's fine.
When you think of accounting and finance, what comes to mind? Don't worry, this is not my course. I have something just a little more special planned for you.
Yeah. All right, let me go back over here. So take that course for free. It's on me. My marketing team hates it when I do these calls. All right, Caroline, who is from France but lives in Ontario, Canada, and got married recently in Nova Scotia. She's in my Silver MBA program. She has 2 cats named Mimi and Mumu. Caroline wrote, good morning, Chris. Always nice to hear from you. Great to see you as well. I'm looking forward to chatting with you also using Zoom in 1 hour at 10 a.m. on our weekly Silver call. And yeah, great to see you. All right, next up, Manos wrote, how much impact will decentralization have on the world, like decentralized social media platforms and decentralized government? Will we ever have a decentralized government ever in a big country? you kind of do in the United States. The United States is different from most countries because the only way that when this country was founded, the only way to get the 13 original states, which are represented by the 13 white and red stripes on the U.S. flag, the only way to get them to join was to basically say, hey, all you 13 states, you have a lot of power on your own. Right? So it is somewhat decentralized. Of course, the federal government can overrule a lot of other stuff. But there's a lot of checks and balances here in the United States. Yeah. But I think it's only a matter of time, though, until big corporations become countries. And I know it sounds strange, but Peter Thiel, who's arguably the best venture capitalist in history, he founded Founders Fund, and he was the first investment in Facebook. Peter Thiel has been talking about creating an island for years, a floating island, right? He is a pure libertarian. And I respect him actually for that opinion, because I think I'm more of a libertarian now than anything else. So I think eventually big companies, and big companies now, some of them have higher revenue than the GDP of small countries. But I think that big companies eventually will be thinking about this. And if we dream 50, 100 years in the future, why can't companies, have their headquarters in space? You don't pay taxes. It will happen. I know it's out there. I'm sure Elon Musk is thinking of that as he thinks about colonizing Mars. Okay, next up we have Nintendo, who has a blue trophy icon. It means you've been a member of my channel. You've joined my channel you've been there for a member for several months. Thank you. Wrote, how are you today? I'm always great. Thanks. Hope you're doing well. Do you think an individual can create an investing algorithm bot, something perhaps like Renaissance Technology has? Yeah, anything is possible. The thing is, though, that Jim Simmons and his team, they're way smarter than I am. They're mathematical geniuses. He worked at the NSA, so he understands algorithms and cryptography incredibly well. Yeah, but it's only a matter of time until there's other companies commensurate with Renaissance, like Jim Simmons' company, that will figure out this sort of thing as well. Nobody else has figured it out except for his firm. Yeah. Okay. And then Eric wrote, I sent out over 10,000 resumes after graduation. I got interviews, no job. It's hard, man. It's hard. When I was an undergrad, I remember at McGill University, I sent out like 40 or 50 resumes to the top companies. And I got like 30 FOD letters. I'm not going to tell you what that stands for. Basically rejection letters. And I put them up my wall. I remember when I lived on Hutchinson Street in Montreal. I put them up on my wall in my little apartment just to motivate myself as well. And then I realized that it's all about networking, man. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are more important than product knowledge. And you have to network like crazy to get anything you want in life. Just like getting a date, you have to ask. I had to ask a bazillion people until my wife said yes. But networking is like dating. And you only have to be right in business one time. So every failure means a stepping stone closer to ultimate success. Okay, and then Manos wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. Thank you. You wrote, you're a dope legend. Thank you. My kids say dope. Actually, the latest thing my kids are saying is not dope. They say bet, B-E-T, when something is cool. They say bet. Yeah. Thank you for that. God bless. Thank you for those other comments there too, and those wonderful emojis, and God bless you. Thank you. Namaste too. Okay. And Eric is asking, what is the overseas version of the VU, DAX, and Hang Seng? Yeah, so Hang Seng is Hong Kong, and the DAX is the German markets as well. So what you can do, if anybody's curious about the best way to do research on ETFs, what you can do is, give me a second, go to etfdatabase.com right here. And there's an ETF screener here. So you could search 5,000 ETFs. Screened by geography type issuer. So you want to go here to geography. And then what we'll do is, because you mentioned the DAX, it's Germany. So let me click there. There's 502. See more German ETFs. Okay. So I would do research here and just check out. That didn't work out well. Let me scroll down here and actually select Germany. Okay, Germany right here. There's 502 ETFs in Germany. Here we go. All right. So what you can do is you can look at FLGR. Okay, which has a 0.09% expense ratio, which means for every $100 you invest, that's actually not bad. You'll pay 9 pennies per year. FLGRs. Let's go over here and research that together. So we go to finance.yahoo.com and we type in FLGR, and I'm looking for liquidity. Make sure it trades enough every day because illiquid stocks own you in a down market rather than vice versa. So this one here, oh, I hate the volume. Forget about this one. Alexa, what's 4,000 times 21?
4,000 times 21 is 84,000.
84,000. That's not liquid at all. You don't want to invest in something illiquid like this because if everybody's trying to sell, you'll drag it down. You might even drag it down yourself if you have a big position. So let me go back and find a better one than that. Okay. EWG has higher fees, but it's more liquid. And I know for a fact, because this is iShares, it's going to be more liquid. EWG is Germany. EWC is Canada. So EWG is Germany, MSCI, and this will be a lot more liquid. Oh yeah. 4 million shares per day times 27 bucks. You'll pay more in fees, but it's worth it because it's liquid. So for every 100 bucks you invest per year in EWG, you'll pay 50 cents in fees. Let's look at the holdings here. Okay. So the holdings, you'll see the breadth and depth of the German economy right here. So the German economy, there's 12 sectors here. The biggest component is industrials. There's a lot of great German industrial companies like Schneider Electric, which is like General Electric, but the German version. And then the second biggest component is financial services. I bet you Deutsche Bank is the largest component here. I bet you, and when we scroll down here, and within tech, most of that is SAP, which is like the German version of Oracle. Here it is here. So here's Siemens right here. Schneider Electric, I meant to say Siemens, sorry. Deutsche Telekom, Daimler-Benz, Mercedes, obviously, etc., Adidas. Yeah. So I would check this one out here. And then do the exact same process I just showed you when it comes to Hong Kong as well, which is what you asked about. So Hong Kong, let's go here, right here for the Hang Seng Index. EWH. Yeah, this one here, because it's iShares, is going to be very liquid as well. So let's do EWH for Hang Seng, Hong Kong. All right, first of all, liquidity, very liquid, 4 million shares times 22 bucks. The fees here, a little bit higher because it's a little bit less liquid. So it's for every 100 bucks you invest, you'll pay 86 pennies per year in fees, which is nothing compared to mutual funds, which are ripoff. Let's look at the breadth and depth of the Hong Kong index here. Probably industrials is big. Let's see here. Actually, industrials is 14%. The biggest component, 42%, because HSBC, Hong Kong Bank, yeah. So the biggest component here, where's HSBC? Oh, I thought it would have been here. Okay, it's very financial services weighted. So be careful because that's a lot of risk you're taking on. 40% is basically financial services companies in China. Although HSBC is global in nature. I don't know why that didn't come up first there. Okay. All right. And then Nintendo asked, what software am I using to live stream? So this is called Wirecast. Okay. And you have to pay for it, but it's similar to OBS, which is free, open broadcast software. OBS is kind of like Linux, and this is kind of like Mac or Windows, just easier to use. Yeah. Okay. And then Shivansh wrote, hey, Chris, what type of field is wealth management? And you got a follow-up question there as well, I see. So wealth management, they call it private wealth management in a lot of big investment banks. It's like being a stockbroker or wealth manager for really rich people. And the way it works is you take a 1% fee. So if you invested $1 million with a private wealth manager, if you gave them $1 million, you're going to pay 1% or 10 grand per year in fees. And you might think that's a ridiculous amount of money. It's worth it if you don't have time to manage your money, because not only will they invest in the right securities and diversify for you, but more importantly, they have tax lawyers on payroll, or they have friends that are tax lawyers and contacts, and they'll help you to spend less in taxes as well. Yeah. And so really rich people, they care about, number one, preserving capital, which is why they invest in hedge funds, because a hedge protects your backyard, a hedge around a backyard. They care, number one, about preserving capital, and number two, capital appreciation. And a PWM, or private wealth management, is the best job you can get in finance, because it's the only job where you can quit a big firm like Goldman and take your clients with you and go to another firm like Morgan Stanley, for example. Yeah. But it's all about networking in that industry, of course. Okay. Okay, and give me 1 second, guys, please. Okay, next up, Eric wrote, who's in my silver program. He's based in Florida, and he's got a groundbreaking technology that DARPA might invest in. That's U.S. government department. Eric wrote, what do you see as the biggest problem in the global economy? From a business perspective, it's reliance on Russia for natural resources. Yeah, and that's how Putin is financing his war. And then next up, you wrote, and obviously inflation, which is a byproduct of what Putin is doing. And then Eric wrote, what do most workers not understand about business? I'd say the most important thing is that most people don't understand that you have to network like crazy to get where you want in business. And the problem is that, when we're younger, we're in school, we work hard, we keep our heads down, we get good grades, hopefully, and our parents are proud of us and we're happy with ourselves. The teachers are nice to us. And then we join the corporate world and you keep your head down, you work hard. And then you look around after a couple of years, you notice that, hey man, I'm doing just as good a job as him and her. And they're getting promoted and raises faster than me. Why is that? Because those people network internally at the company and they ask. You have to ask. And one of my students in my platinum program, he told me he grew up in the hood, in the ghetto, he said. And he said what he learned growing up is that closed mouths don't get fed. You have to ask like crazy. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Ed wrote here, I think ChatGPT has locked out access for new users. Downloads disabled, and you can sign up for future download. Oh, I didn't know that. I signed up back in November when it first came out using my Gmail account. Yeah. It might be regional. So if you want, you can use a VPN and try to log in from another country. Maybe. Okay. Moving on to Sanjay, who wrote, hey, Sanjay, wrote, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. Likewise. I'm always great. Thanks. Yeah. Every day I teach is a great day. I love it. And then Eric wrote, what languages is the program course? So we're starting out with Visual Basic, right? Which is part of Excel. And it's the best way to learn programming because within Visual Basic, the way it works is when you create sub-procedures, which go in modules, when you create sub-procedures and functions, what happens is you record yourself creating the code. So what that means is this, and let me show you live here. So let me go over here to, I'll do it on Windows. This is tricky. I got Windows running here. Hopefully it works. All right. So what happens is this, you record yourself doing something, right? So let me say, let me think about this. Let me go here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself, I don't know, entering text here. So this here is a macro, okay? And I have to restart Windows here. I've got Windows running on Mac. So there's a developer ribbon which ships with Windows. Most people don't realize that, or with Excel. Most people only use 5% of what Excel does. But watch this. I'm going to record a macro, okay? And I'll just call it macro 1, whatever. And I'll click here, and I'll write Chris, and then I'll hit enter, and then I'll make it bold, okay? Whoops. Looks like I clicked on a link that took me out of the screen. Hold on. Okay, right here. All right, so that's good enough. So now I'm going to hit stop right now. And again, I am running Windows here. Record macro done. Okay, then you click on Visual Basic here and you can see the code that you created. Right, so let me actually go down to here, the first module. Okay, hold on a second. It's right here, module 2. Here we go. So what I just did there was I selected cell, or range as they call it, D19. And the active cell, I changed it to Chris. Okay. And then what I did was I clicked on a couple other things on that tab, as you can tell there. And so the beautiful thing about what we just did here was a subroutine was created for us. Okay. A sub. And inside is the code, and you got end sub at the bottom. And what you then can do is you can change this code around. Here, I can change this to John if I want to. I can, select another range instead of D19 or D20. And then you get immediate feedback as well. And so it's the easiest way to learn how to code. And it is object-oriented as well. And the way it works is with object-oriented coding, usually in VBA, You start big and then you go to small. So if I want to make this eraser here green, I go big to small. So I go pencil dot eraser dot color equals green. And that's the basis of object-oriented programming as well. So the best place to start with programming is Visual Basic as well, because it is visual in nature. Yeah. And once you understand this stuff, it's a lot easier to move on to Python and other stuff, which I will be teaching. I will be teaching eventually in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay, we're going all in big data now, and data analysis tools, because I think that's what my students need to learn to be successful. All right. Eric wrote, can you recommend a 3D printer course? No, there's a couple of great YouTubers that I use in order to make 3D printers. There are a dime a dozen. There's tons of them out there to make these products. But don't learn from me. I suck at this stuff. This took me like a day and a half to print on my 3D printer. It's the ampersand from a coding perspective for formulas. I started printing out my own sub procedures as well. And this is a sub here, and I couldn't figure it out. And so eventually I was like, screw it. I just bought these off eBay instead. Yeah. But I had fun while doing it with my kids. Okay. All right. And then next up question is, are you planning to create a Udemy course on algorithmic trading? No. I'm more of a long-term investor. And I think a lot of people, and I've been saying this for years on my YouTube channel, that day trading is not a career. And a lot of people are upset with me for saying that. A lot of people, during COVID, they just day traded all day and made that their career. And then they really got hit hard last year. I feel bad for them. Yeah. You got to be long-term focused, because if you try to trade, you'll never make money, because each month has 20 weekdays, meaning 20 days the market's open. And stocks go up and down in a short amount of time, because of geopolitical reasons or stuff out of your control, and you're fooled by randomness. And the worst thing that can happen to you if you try to be a trader is you make money right away, because you'll think it's repeatable. It's just like saying, I'm going to a casino for the first time and I made money. It's a sucker's bet. You can't do it. You got to be long-term focused always. Yeah. And there's a reason we can't name any successful day traders, because they don't exist. You got to be long-term focused. Yeah. Okay. Eric wrote here, how much more will cryptos melt down before rebounding? I think we're close to the bottom, actually. I do. I mean, how much worse can it get with FTX and all of these cryptos going to zero? The problem is, for several years now, there's way more cryptocurrencies than there are traditional fiat-based paper currencies, right? It's the market is irrational. And like with any new market, there's new entrants and all ships rise initially, and then just the best companies like Ethereum and Bitcoin rise to the top. Yeah, and I do own Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ripple. I publicly disclose those four for years, and I'm never selling. Okay, and Eric Armijo wrote, thanks, congrats on the book. Thank you, I'm excited about it. Yeah. And then Eric wrote, is programming in the silver MBA? Absolutely. It's hitting all of my MBA programs, meaning my gold, platinum, silver, right? So it's going to hit all of my MBA programs if you bought in the past, or if you buy this month, or if you buy in the future. It's going to hit all of them by January 30th of this month. And I've got 3 editors working around the clock up in Canada, actually, on editing all this stuff. Yeah, thank God for Dropbox. Yeah. And Eric, you want to look at the end of the silver MBA for that, because I'll add it right before the graduation lecture at the end. Yeah. Okay, and Eric wrote, what attitude should a CFA have? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that, because CFA stands for Certified Financial Analyst Designation. It's a 3-year program you got to take. You don't attend classes, you just study at night. You write 1 test per year for 3 years, and then you become a Certified Financial Analyst, which is very respected. Okay. And then Nkit wrote here, hi, Chris. Does starting an apparel brand in India have some scope of growth? Yeah. I don't. The best way to answer that is in my MBA degree program. In the 3rd semester, I have a venture capital boot camp, in E3-1 through E3-5. That's entrepreneurship semester 3, class 1 through class 5. And you got to write a complete business plan before you decide to enter any market. Yeah. And that all my lessons are generic to apply globally as well. Yeah. Okay. But what's key though with apparel is your indirect distribution channel. Okay. And Shivansh wrote, what should be a good way to fight smartphone addiction? Yeah. Oh, it's hard, man. It's hard. Like when I'm driving, sometimes I'll put this in the trunk. And then on vacation, I'll leave this in the hotel room. It's so hard though, but out of sight is out of mind. Yeah. And there are products where they're ridiculous. You can search from online, which are like safes, where you put these things in safes and the safe locks for a certain amount of time. You can't open it, and it opens at certain hours of the day. Yeah. And a lot of parents, what they do is you can use Apple's the latest iOS to make sure that your kids are only using the internet for a certain amount of time per day. Yeah. I don't do that though. Okay, Eric wrote, India is booming on cheap Russian oil. Yeah. The Berlin from San Bernardino, who was in my gold MBA program last year, wrote, good to see it. Peter Thiel was one of the investors for FTX and other news. The FTT coin went up 40%. They recovered $5 billion liquid assets. I saw that. Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. A lot of top venture capitalists were investors. Sequoia, which is the best venture capital firm in history, was also an investor. Yeah, it's hard though, man, and it's like you go to these board meetings as a venture capitalist, and I've been there, man, and you trust these founders, and it's so hard to do all the financial checks to see if they're cooking the books. You just hope they're not. But the problem with FTX was they didn't have a reputable auditing firm. You want to make sure that that companies you invest in have a top 4 auditor, like KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, etc. Always. And then Eric wrote, the problem with Google is that no two people can have clear communication if the sole purpose of the man in the middle is to manipulate you both. Yeah. And it's interesting because you think there's freedom of speech, but we're all guests on these platforms. Like in the United States, there's freedom of speech, right? It's a government thing. It's a beautiful thing. But when it comes to these social media platforms, they own the platform and you're a guest. So there is no freedom of speech. I mean, there is, but they can manipulate, what search results come up first if they want to. Yeah. A lot of people fail to understand, myself included, that, freedom of speech is a government thing. It's not a corporate thing. Okay. And then Eric wrote, Proton VPN is free. I've heard of that. Yeah. Run by CERN scientists. Very cool. Okay. And then Ankit wrote, hey, Chris, which non-tech businesses are scalable in developing economies? Whew. It's hard because when I think of companies that can scale, they're the ones that don't have inventory issues, right? What caused the video game industry to blow up, and this is a case study for my MBA program, was back in the early 80s. They made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these things back in 82 and 83. This ET game is a disaster, and they had to bury these in the desert in Arizona. There's hundreds of thousands of these buried in the desert. This game was a disaster. Inventory destroyed Atari and the whole video game industry. Revenue for the whole video game industry went down over 90% in I think it was 83 or 84. And then Nintendo entered the market with the first gen NES and reinvented the market in general. So you got to be careful with inventory. It's hard for me to answer that, and I really do love software companies and internet companies, which I've invested in for years and started these companies over the years, because you don't have to worry about inventory at all. So if you're going to create a company that has a product, a physical product, make sure to use the Michael Dell approach, which is this. You sell it, you collect the cash, then you ship the product, you custom make. Or you outsource it to electronic EMS companies, like Celestica, etc. Okay. Next up, Renvir. Hey, Renvir, who's in my silver MBA from Mauritius. Great to see you. Renvir wrote, "Hey Chris, hope you're doing well. Likewise, what are the factors that may contribute to a temporary bull market rally this quarter?" Yeah, and I know that you're looking at investing closely. Yeah, it's so hard to call these things, man. A temporary bull market rally. A couple things. Number one, less fear about geopolitical issues with respect to Russia. You know, if there were going to be some indications that Russia is going to stop this stupid war, then the market would rally. And there's some people that think that Russia might give up. I don't think they will. Putin just fired the commander-in-chief of the army and replaced it with another person because that war is certainly not going well for him. So number one is geopolitical. Number two would be abating of inflation concerns. Right, so inflation right now in the United States is getting less bad at 6.5% year over year for the month of December, versus close to 10% a couple months before that. So I would say that those two issues, yeah, and also just less COVID restrictions. I would guess, like China, for example, has opened up their economy. They kind of had to because you had these peaceful rioters, and that's one of the reasons why the European markets are rallying. Yeah. Okay. And then Nkit wrote, "Hey Chris, I'm currently working in a bank in India, and I want to start my own business. Can you please help me suggest some businesses?" Yeah. So, you know, in my MBA degree program in the Venture Capital Bootcamp, I help you come up with ideas. But what you want to do is you want to look at a sector and ask yourself this question first: in 5 years, will this sector be more relevant than it is today? Right, so you can see the forest from the trees. Then you can do a bottoms-up analysis, and I provide you with all the templates and tools in my MBA program on how to do that. Yeah. Write a business plan first, though, please, always. Yeah. Okay, yeah, from Atlanta in my Platinum MBA. How are you? I wrote, "Hi, Chris. Good to see you. What platforms do you recommend to buy stocks and ETFs?" Yeah. So what I would do is whatever bank you use in the United States here, I would call your bank and ask them if they have a brokerage service affiliated with the bank. And then I want you to ask them what the fees are. And if there are fees more than a couple pennies per transaction, then I want you to look at other banks, right? So and I recommend for everybody in this call, whatever the top 5 banks are in your country, just do a search on market cap, top 5 banks, call those top 5 banks and ask them all if they have an affiliated brokerage service where you can buy stocks. Then call all 5 of those brokerage services. And where everyone has the lowest fees, invest with those. Make sure there's also some sort of government insurance as well, so that you don't lose your shirt. And if the banks that people use, any of my students here on this webcast globally use, if you don't have insurance, right, if the government doesn't insure bank accounts, then only have a certain amount of money in each bank and use multiple banks. Okay. Next up, the Berlin wrote, "Chris, inflation is coming down." Yep. But prices for fast food is still up. And you articles stating that our utilities are going gas in specific. Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that. I'm so sorry. Trying to understand the question. Okay, so you're basically saying government statistics imply that prices are coming down, but you're not seeing as much because food prices are going up. Yeah. Please rephrase the question if you can. Thank you. Okay. Eric wrote, "Why is the world of humans so messed up? Their biology, like reproduction and human yeah, I can't read that last part. Yeah. But man's inhumanity to man makes countless millions mourn. Yeah. And history does repeat itself, unfortunately. Okay. Eminem wrote, "Good morning, Chris." Good morning to you too. And then Ted wrote, "Dylan is very cute," in that video I showed earlier. Thank you. It's my little munchkin. And we were going to name him Luke, right? And my wife said, "Chris, if it was up to you, my kids would be Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John." This is Matthew, that's Andrew. We were going to name him Luke. And then we asked these 2 boys, we said, "You're having a baby brother. We're going to name him Luke." And we want them to have a say in the name as well, so they don't get envious and stuff. And they threw a fit. They said, "I don't want baby brother to be named Luke. I want to name him Han Solo." It's a true story. That would be a dope name. Okay. Next up, Tycoon69 wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hey, I took your entire...
I don't know that one.
When did I say ALEXA? It's kind of scary, man. So Tycoon69 wrote, "Hi, Chris. I took your entire MBA course. It was fantastic. Thank you. It's my 7.5-hour course." And then you wrote, "I wanted to ask that you think that VC money is drying up in blockchain technology and Web 3.0 tech because I don't hear about it much now." Yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah. Given the fact that interest rates have gone up around the world, when interest rates go up, people invest in fewer speculative asset classes, right? Like cryptocurrencies. Or stocks. It's natural, because if you think about it, if interest rates go up and you can leave your money in the bank or buy government bonds and get a decent return on investment, why would you buy stocks or any speculative asset classes? And that's one of the many reasons why Web 3.0 companies and cryptocurrency companies and NFTs have not been performing as well. Yeah, it's been 6 months since anybody's mentioned Web 3 on my calls here too. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Eminem, who wrote Egypt. My father is from Egypt. I'm half Egyptian. Egypt planned spending cuts as it faces an economic crisis. Pakistan austerity. What would you suggest to these countries making a potential turnaround? Yeah. Oh, it's hard, man. Egypt gets most of its food actually from Ukraine as well. It's been difficult. So my thoughts and prayers are with my father's people. I would say that the best thing governments can do there is just fiscal policy, which means big government contracts, right? Governments want to spend more money during economic recessions to create jobs, and that's why a lot of countries will build highways and bridges during recessions. Yeah, monetary policy won't work because you can't cut interest rates when you have inflation. Yeah, there's two medicines that countries have to improve their economies: monetary policy and fiscal policy. Monetary policy is the policy of money, meaning cutting interest rates, and they can't do that because of inflation, so rates are going up. Then there's fiscal policy, which means government spending. So they can issue more bonds and spend a lot more money on the economy by building bridges, utilities, etc. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, Tycoon 69 wrote, "What do you think about Y Combinator's course on YouTube on how to start a startup?" I don't know much about it. Y Combinator is probably the number one incubation firm in the world. The other two notable ones are 500 Startups and then Techstars. And you can do a search on my YouTube channel on incubators. I did a very long vlog on those three aforementioned companies. Yeah, but I've not checked out their course on YouTube. Okay. Okay. And then Eric wrote, "Dr. David Sinclair, director of Harvard's Longevity Lab, and resveratrol, and said red wine is good for you, and I take resveratrol every day." Yeah. And then he wrote, "We can move the biology clock forward, backwards, and then forward again." Yeah, you can't. As of now, you can't reverse aging, but you can slow it down. And a ton of money is going right now into life extension companies here in South San Francisco, which is the biotech capital of the United States. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then Chimui wrote, "Suggest best finance job in UK considering economy downfall." Yeah. The best long-term finance jobs are always private wealth management. And it's sad to say, but we're going to see the biggest generational transfer of wealth in history in the next couple of decades as the baby boomers move on. So I would say wealth management. Okay. And Eric wrote, "Human lifespan is now limitless." Yeah. With organ, 3D printing of organs, etc. Yeah. Yeah. And then Eric wrote, "ChatGPT and Starlink are becoming clogged." Yeah. Yeah. There's some people that speculate, and this is crazy, but it's interesting to talk about, that Elon Musk with Twitter, initially he wanted to cut ties with Apple so that he could eventually launch his own phone product that runs on Starlink as well. And he has an operating system that's ready for phones. So think about the vertical integration there. Elon Musk, cell phone company, satellites for cell access. Yeah. Okay, and then Mutaz wrote, "Hey Chris, are you creating a Discord server?" Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I use Slack, and I've been using it for years. But one thing I hate about Slack, when it comes to my MBA students networking with each other, is Slack will delete really old messages, and it's really been a misexecution by Salesforce since they bought Slack a couple of years ago. Discord is free. It's a little bit less intuitive, the user interface. It's free, and you don't have any space issues ever. Yeah. So yes, I'll definitely be doing that. Okay, Neuro Lover wrote, "Hi Chris, I'm a successful day trader. I have started a Urini 2 years ago, and it took me 2 years to become profitable. It is very hard. I don't advise it to people." Yeah. God bless you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah, it's hard. And if you're going to do that, I recommend. Give me 1 second here. 1 second. If you're going to be a day trader, I recommend really understanding options as well. Just buying puts and calls. Don't underwrite them or sell them because your losses can be unlimited. Just to hedge your exposure. Yeah. Next up, Eric wrote, "Who do you follow on YouTube, Facebook, and other sources?" I don't touch Facebook. I haven't posted to Facebook personally in years. My team uses Insta a lot. So I don't follow anybody on Facebook. On YouTube, I follow Marcus Brownlee. He's my favorite YouTuber. And that's basically it. Yeah. I don't really follow anybody closely. Yeah. And then Neuro Lover wrote, "Since I do it on a small account, meaning a day trading, I would like to work in hedge funds. Do you have any advice how to connect with them? I'm very good at macroeconomics and technical analysis." Yeah. So what I would do is you have to network like crazy. And in my MBA degree program, I provide you with plenty of templates that will help you create one-page write-ups that you can send to hedge funds. Okay, and on these one-page write-ups, there's 3 categories on them. Starts with fundamentals, then valuation, and then technical analysis, a distant third. Yeah, I wouldn't just pitch technical analysis to hedge funds because most of the successful ones are a bit longer-term focused. I would talk about fundamentals first, valuation second, and a distant third is technical analysis. And in my MBA program, I help you a lot to network in order to get the job. If you want, you can join my Platinum MBA program. Okay, and this is just me to you. Okay, join my Platinum MBA degree program that starts on January 30th. And if you don't get a job in the hedge fund industry within 1 year, I'll give you your money back. Okay, and I'll help you network with your LinkedIn profile and everything as well. It's a fun challenge for me, and that's just for me to do that offer. You can go to harounmba.com to sign up. Okay. And then Eric wrote, "What is an indirect distribution channel?" Yeah, and I mentioned that with respect to the question about the Indian economy and retail. So indirect means when you sell a product or a service, but you don't sell it, somebody else does it for you. So for example, my courses, if you buy it directly from me, that's direct sales, right on my website. If you buy it from Udemy or another source online, that's an indirect distribution channel. Somebody else is selling it for me. And indirect distribution channels, the profit margin is less because the company that's selling gets cut. So in the industrial sector, which is kind of a sector that you work in down in Florida, the company that you're working on, the indirect distribution channel would be Grainger and Fastenal. Grainger, ticker GWW, and Fastenal, ticker FAST. Yeah. Yeah, Jerome wrote, "Siemens, indeed, Schneider Electric is a French company." Is it really? Schneider Electric. You got me curious now. I got to go check that out. Schneider Electric, Paris. Is that right? Let me go here to... wow. It is Paris. You're right. Wow. Okay. Wow. Foolish Haroun here. Okay. Schneider Electric. Siemens is German. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I learned so much by these calls. Thank you. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Next up, and thank you, Jerome, for that. Appreciate that. Okay, I will remember that. the Berlin wrote, Chris, there's a lot of talk of the housing market is going to crash as interest rates go up. Yeah. And the housing market has already pulled back at least 10% from the peak. And you live here in San Bernardino, California, not too far away from me. And we've both certainly seen this where we both live. And then you wrote here, and YouTube videos as well. Can this be one of those moments where Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful? Yeah. Yeah. You want to buy when there's blood in the streets. When it comes to stocks or when it comes to real estate. And when you buy your first house or first apartment, and this is certainly how I felt when I bought my first place in 2002 in New York City in my 30s. If it doesn't feel uncomfortable for you, then you're not buying it at the right time. And if it doesn't feel uncomfortable for you, then you're not buying a large enough house or apartment. And I'm not saying to over leverage yourself and be fiscally irresponsible. But when it feels really uncomfortable to buy something, it's usually the right time. Yeah. Okay. And then the Berlin wrote, Chris, the news is stating that inflation is coming down, but fast food and restaurant prices are off the roof, and news that our gas utility bill, okay, this is rephrasing your question, is going up. So where is it coming down? Yeah. I don't know. You might want to go to bea.gov, Bureau of Economics and Administration, check that out. Yeah. And I don't know what the government report is or what it states exactly inflation-wise, why prices are coming down. I don't. Yeah. Maybe it's just because the price of gas, I've noticed the price of gas is down in general, relative to the way it was 6 months ago. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then the Berlin wrote, Chris, since inflation is high, parents are not putting their kids in sports programs. There are fewer signups. Yeah, it's hitting everybody, man. Everyone's getting hit hard. The economy is certainly slowing a lot. Yeah, it is. And it usually takes about 6 months for interest rate hikes to kind of materialize in terms of an impact on the economy. Yeah. But what you want to watch instead of just inflation is you want to look at the unemployment report, the monthly unemployment report, and the weekly jobless claims. Because the biggest input into producing anything, service or product, is the price of labor, right? And if unemployment is very low, then, prices of products will keep increasing. So I would look at unemployment closely. Okay. And then Loraxak wrote, hi, Chris, how are you? Have you already referred to today's inflation's data release? I did. Yeah, I talked about it earlier. How do you think the cryptocurrency market will perform in turbulent times? Meaning what to look for when tracking a market bottom? Yeah. Okay, so what I would say in general, the way you know that a market or a stock or any investment is bottomed is when bad news comes out and that investment doesn't go down, right? So, and it can't just be one piece of bad news. It has to be multiple pieces of bad news because one data point doesn't make a trend. But if a stock does not go down on multiple negative press releases or news releases, then it might have found a floor. Might have. By the same token, if a stock doesn't go up on good news, it's overowned. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and Jerome said, yes, Schneider Electric is based out of Grenoble, actually. I didn't know that. Thank you. Okay. And then Fahim wrote, do you think Pakistan will default given the current financial situation? I hope not. I hope not, yeah. But times are rough globally, that's for sure, yeah. And then the Berlin wrote, Chris, thank you for everything. You're most welcome. I love all your questions. Thank you. Okay, and the last question I've got here is, Chris, what role will Africa play in the global economy in 2023? So Africa, it's the final frontier in terms of the next great leg of growth. I'm very bullish on Africa longer term. I'm investing a lot myself with my charity, although I don't have a registered charity. It's in Vital's name. But as many of you know, I built a school in Rwanda, and I'm going to be going there actually this June to visit. And what I'll do is I'll give you guys just a quick update on how that's going right here. Thanks. So I'm here in beautiful Magu, Rwanda, with Vital. Vital and I met at a Udemy conference in 2019 in Berlin, and we promised we'd build at least one school here. So this is the land. We had to actually buy it from 7 different families. A lot of government officials involved as well. Given COVID, it's taking a little bit more time. But we're going to build it right here.
Yes.
And there's 5 buildings, yeah?
Yes.
A computer science
Computer lab, welding workshop, carpentry workshop.
Special thanks to Vital for putting that video together. It's happening, man. And this June, this year, in a couple months, I'm going to go there for maybe a month and teach from class as well. Should be a lot of fun. This is the construction hat here. See my bald spot there? Okay. Now you can't. Okay. Cool. Great. All right, so what I'm actually going to, and thank you, Phil, for that comment as well. Appreciate it. God bless y'all. So if you guys are interested in my MBA degree program, and thank you, Pearl, for that comment as well. God bless you. I love you. So if you guys are interested in my MBA degree program, please go to harounmba.com. To learn more about the program. You go up here and just click here to learn more about the program. If you want, a pop-up should come up here in a second. There we go. You can click this right here to set up a one-on-one Zoom call with me to talk about joining the Gold and Platinum program that starts on January 30th. It's going to be every Monday and Tuesday. From 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. Pacific time. Again, starting on January 30th, there's a 100% money back policy, so that lasts 30 days after we start. So if you buy today, you get your money back all the way up until March 1st. So anyway, and if you don't feel like you're getting literally 10x your return on investment when you sign up for this, if you don't get 10x return on investment the first month, I want you to ask for your money back. Yeah, it's a good deal. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Please like and subscribe. God bless you all. And what I'll do is I will see you next week and every single week forever. And as I do with all my webcasts, I end with this very short video that is life-changing that I licensed from the Silicon Valley Historical Association from Steve Jobs. For those of you in my Silver MBA, please go to the first lecture in the curriculum and join me in about 10 minutes for our weekly Zoom call. For those of you in my Gold and Platinum MBA degree program, I'm looking forward to one-on-ones with you later on today. And then also, I'll see all my Gold and Platinum students at 11:20 a.m. for 2-hour office hours. Thank you. God bless.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.